Well, good afternoon, everybody. Darren Saul here, your host of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast. Friday afternoon. I hope everybody's had a fantastic week and looking forward to the weekend because I certainly am. Today we have episode 120 with Samantha Morris from Fempire. How are you, Samantha?
I'm great, Darren. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for coming on the show. And the topic for today is Don't Let Fear Stop You. Samantha Morris is an out-of-the-box problem solver who nurtures women in business to believe in themselves and take confident action to grow their business. Give her a challenge and she is happy to be an active part of the problem-solving team. Samantha gets excited by good brainstorming sessions, especially when there is a free rein to be creative, and she likes red wine as well. I'm not sure if they go together well, but we'll chat about that a bit later. Fempire is unapologetically female because women work, think, and learn differently. So welcome to the show, Samantha.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Goodness me. It sounds exciting, all of that, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I'd love to dive in because I love the way you said women or females work, think, and learn differently. So let's expand that a little bit.
Yeah. So, look, I think for many, many years now, women try to compete on the same playing field as men. And not to say we're not equal, but we both bring different things to the party. And I think what I'm really excited about in the work that I'm doing is saying to women, let's work together and let's really embrace the things that make women great, rather than trying to push those things down and compete in ways that don't quite sit with us.
Yeah, that makes
perfect sense. This is where we don't have success because we're trying to do things that don't feel quite natural.
I mean, like people these days say, you've got to play to your strengths.
Yes.
So women have to know, and men have to know what our strengths are and play towards those.
Yeah, absolutely. And, let's face it, not every day is a great day. And, women, for the most part, we're a bit better at expressing, the bad days. So sometimes we want to have a good cry in the corner. And I'm all about saying, you know what, if that's what you need to do, let's do that. And let's not be embarrassed and ashamed about doing it.
Sure, absolutely.
And, let's not feel like we're made to feel guilty because we've got to leave work because we've got a sick child. And let's start talking about all of those things that we're made to feel guilty about and start saying, actually, no, that's what makes us really great.
That's true. And that actually those skills and attributes play a very important part in the team culture, the work culture, and the cohesiveness and efficiency and everything else.
Yes, absolutely, they do. And it's been really interesting this year to watch that different dynamic play out.
Yeah, I can just imagine. I mean,
very
different because you needed those two sides of the coin, the male and female. And I'm generalizing here because not every female and every male is the same.
Absolutely, yes.
Generic traits balancing nicely have probably made a great team for everybody moving forward.
Yes, yeah. Look, it's only been the last couple of years that I've really focused on women because my whole working career has been in male-dominated industries where most of the people that I worked with were men, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. Even growing up, 3 big brothers and my dad, that was who I spent most of my time with. So very, very comfortable in those environments. But I have to admit I was a bit anxious when I started working with women because I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not sure if this is, going to be the right space for me. And it's been amazing. It's been really amazing.
And that's actually a really good point. So how did that evolve? Did you just kind of naturally fall into your sensibility as a female and that just became a simple process? Or did you have to actually actively think, okay, how do I tackle this now, working with women as opposed to men?
Yeah, no, it has been a bit of a process for me because I feel like a lot of the things that are coming out in me now have been shut down for a long time. So, and that's things like listening to my intuition as opposed to being a very logical thinker. And as much as I love being creative, I've been creative in different ways.
Yep.
So especially this year, because you have to dig even deeper because everything's remote. It's very different when you're working with somebody and they're sitting right in front of you, because you've got complete body language to look at, and you get feelings of people, but it's a little bit different on a screen. So I've had to learn to tap into all of those traditional sort of female type attributes to become really effective.
Okay. Well, let's chat about, what are some of those female strengths and attributes in the general sense that, make them who they are in the workplace, for example?
Yeah. So, oh gosh, I feel like I'm going to get myself into such hot water here. Because it's not.
For everybody out there, we're talking generically, not every.
Yes. Yeah.
And male is the same, of course.
No, absolutely. And my husband will kill me for saying this, but with my husband and I still feel like I have the dominant masculine side of things, and he's probably more in touch with his feminine side than I am. So this is not about saying, men are no good or men can't do this or that. It's not about that at all. It's about giving women permission to step into what they are.
Yes.
So that's about getting more in touch with making decisions around being empathetic and around what makes you like really sing inside, and what's passionate, and all of that sort of the emotional side of things, like I say, as opposed to being removed from the logical side.
Yeah. Awareness of self and empathy is probably a big one, isn't it, for women?
Yes, it is. I've just started coaching with my latest group of women in a 6-week course that we run, and this group is really different because we're coming out of lockdown and things like that. So there is a lot more hope out there with people, but I love this year that people have decided, okay, let's make a stand for ourselves because things are different, and let's get in touch with what's really, really important to us.
Perfect.
That's what I love that's coming through now, especially in the women. There's a lot of stuff out there on the internet about, being heart-centered and following your dreams, and I don't feel like I've bought into that 100%. But having said that, if I phrase it differently, it can sit a lot better with me. So do something that you're excited to do when you get up in the morning, that you're happy you've done all day when you go to bed at night.
Absolutely. We spend way too much of our time here on earth working, so try and enjoy what you do.
Yeah. My oldest daughter's a singer.
Oh, wow.
And so going, when she was younger, I used to take her to competitions and all that sort of thing. And, every sort of reality TV show that's got anything to do with any kind of performance, they're all on there and they're crying, and it's like, oh, this is my dream, it's my passion. And, they're like 16 years old and it's their lifelong thing, and the world is going to end if they don't get to do it. And I'm like, how amazing would it be if everybody felt like that about what they were doing with their day?
So true.
Yeah, it's not reserved for just those creative artists. It's it should be for everybody.
Absolutely. And in fact, funny enough, I've been listening to the latest audiobook by Seth Godin.
Yes.
It's called The Practice, and it's just brilliant. I love him. He's absolutely brilliant. And he talks about exactly that. He talks about loving what you do more than doing what you love.
Yes.
But also talks about the fact that you can be creative, you can have creative expression of anything in any type of craft or service or, work responsibility. It doesn't have to be your typical French artist or painter or sculptor or musician or whatever. You can be artistic in anything. Even as yourself as a business coach, building a business and executing and maintaining a business is very creative.
Absolutely, yes. You've got to be thinking on your feet all the time because, you never know if you've got a bricks and mortar business, you never know what's going to walk in the door. You never know what the next thing is that's going to be posted on social media. So you do have to be creative, and you have to really be self-aware in how you relate to people and how you present to people. And that's all creativity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Mm.
let's chat a bit more about what you do, because I want to kind of get a bit of a context. Obviously, you work as a business coach, business consultant to female
Yes.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What are some of the obstacles and challenges that a lot of them face that you find before they come and see you and they say, all right, I need to get this taken care of, help me?
Yeah, so a lot of the women that I work with, this year in particular, just starting out in business because the job that they had is gone, or they've got a business and they've taken it to a certain level because it might have been a side hustle or home-based or whatever, and they're like, okay, now I need to step this up and it needs to be something more than what it is. But the biggest obstacle, despite the fact that people say, I need help with my marketing, I need to make more sales, I don't understand my business finances, and there's some things not right. So they're the superficial elements, and they're very important parts of business, but it's what's sitting behind them that I like to get to, because you can't just stick a band-aid on those things and then magically your business is booming and everything's amazing. So digging deep, I've found that the biggest problem that my clients have is a lack of confidence in what they're doing.
So interesting.
Yeah, people go into business because they're really good at something and people want to pay them for that. But it doesn't mean that they are an expert in finance or business administration or, marketing, all of those other elements that go hand in hand with being a business owner.
Yeah. And I'm finding that, like, I'm hearing so much about exactly that in the last 6 to 12 months, constantly, like how important confidence is and how so many people lack confidence to do certain things, and the imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff. I'm hearing that all the time.
Yeah. And imposter syndrome, my goodness, that beast rears its ugly head periodically for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was interesting, a conversation I had earlier today, even with somebody that had a really stellar corporate career and was now wanting to start her business. And she'd been at home for 5 years now with her kids, and her confidence was rock bottom. Now she was going to do a business doing essentially what she'd been done all her working life, and extremely successful and good at it.
Yeah.
Had this 5-year break, and she's now doubting everything about herself because she's had that gap there.
And she hasn't had that any positive reinforcement of
No.
achievement and et cetera, et cetera. So she's probably thinking, oh, what have I missed? What's changed in the last 5 years?
Yes.
What am I lacking in terms of my skill set? Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it afterwards, and I was thinking, how true is that? Like 5 years, that's a huge gap. Because I remember, when I had a job, even if you had like your 4 weeks annual leave and you go away for those weeks and you come back and my experience of that was, what am I walking into? What's changed? What's happened? Are there new people here? What have I missed out on while I've been gone? And that's only a short break.
Absolutely. Imagine what happened in 5 years.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. But to your point, I mean, I think confidence is so important, because if you are self-confident and you know that whatever is thrown at you, you're going to find a way to overcome it, and you're going to upskill and step up to the challenge. And particularly if you've done it before, you can do it again 100 times. In 5 years, it's not going to scare you. You say, all right, I might have a little bit of catching up to do, but I'll get there. No problem.
Yeah. It breaks my heart sometimes, Darren, because the women that I talk to are so amazing, and I'm like, oh, just have a look how good you are. Come on.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Look, that's the fun part of what I do, is helping them get that confidence, and they get that through, if they're lacking confidence in a certain area, there are different things that you can do to get that confidence. And that might be simply, okay, I'm going to hold your hand, jump in and do it. Or here's some training so that you can know that your knowledge is up to date, you know, just different things like that to give people confidence.
Or talk to 3 of your, you know, closest colleagues and
Yes.
ask them how you really are, and they'll all say you're fantastic. Surely that's got to boost your confidence.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because we're not good at telling people good things.
Absolutely.
We've mastered the art of being not so nice, especially on social media, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
so how do you work with your people, with your females? What's the process? What's the what kind of you know, what kind of process do you go through to really get them from A to Z?
Okay, so well, we start out by, if somebody already has a business, essentially I like to deconstruct it.
Yep.
So let's pull it apart and let's see, like I said earlier, what's sitting behind that shop front there.
Right.
And the first thing I do is actually work on the business owner, because everything's coming from them. So let's get their mind in the right spot.
Yep.
Let's make sure that their vision for what they want their business to be is actually the business that they've got. And if it's not, okay, let's turn the corner. Yep. And let's make it into what you want it to be.
Exactly. And if it isn't, what's changed? How did you get off track?
Why isn't it?
Why did you end up there when you started off over there?
Yeah. Do you know the question that I ask people that stumps them the most is when I ask them, and this is an initial onboarding question, is what does success look like for you? Mm-hmm. And then people sat there and they're like, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you know you're not successful already then? If you don't know what success looks like, how are you supposed to build a business that's successful?
So true. We just keep thinking about building a business, but don't know how to measure it and measure what it means to us.
Yeah, because if you don't know what success looks like, you don't know how to measure it, then you're not celebrating anything that you're doing, and you're not really achieving because you haven't set yourself any benchmarks and any goals. And
so true.
And the other thing too is that people tie success around money too much.
So true.
And you know, not that I'm a millionaire, but you only have to look at people that are wealthy to know that for every one of them that's loving it, there's somebody that's miserable.
Absolutely.
So money isn't making the world go round as such. Certainly it's great to have a roof over your head and, you know, your bills are paid, but I think human beings are meant for more than that.
Yep. And this period has taught us that, if nothing else.
Yeah. I'm one of those horribly optimistic people that have said, do you know what, this has been awesome this year because I've had time with my kids. I've got to experience what the school day is like for them. I've spent some great time with them that I wouldn't usually. Not having to drive and get stuck in traffic and do all of those sorts of things, being able to do heaps of training and reading and all of that sort of stuff that you just don't get time for.
Yep, absolutely. So step one is really deconstructing, lifting up the hood, working out where you're at, how you've got there, and what do you do next?
So then once we work out, okay, this is what you really want your business to be. So let's start building on that. Let's work out, okay, this is going to be your business. Who is your target market? Let's start from there. Then let's get your branding all sorted. And then, okay, let's have a look at your finances and see what's happening there before we go and do any sort of marketing, because you've got to understand those things first. Perfect. There's no use marketing and, let's get some sales in if your pricing structure is wrong, if your packaging is wrong. Yeah. So it really is a process to step through those things.
Yeah. And you know, that classic situation of doing marketing and all of a sudden you've got too many leads to handle and everything breaks down because you haven't got the systems in place.
Yes. Yeah. That's the biggest tragedy of all, when growth causes your business to collapse. Exactly. And I see that quite a bit, particularly with trades, like in the building industry and construction, because they get these amazingly huge contracts, but then they don't have the infrastructure and the staff to
That's true.
follow through, because especially with things like that, the spending of money happens way before you get paid.
Yeah, very
So
tricky.
that's really sad when that happens.
Yeah, really tricky. So I mean, there's so much to go through, and then at a later stage, do you start talking about the marketing side and building the business after that?
Yeah. Once we're really, really clear on what the business is and who you're targeting for your marketing and what your product really is, or your service, then we start working on the marketing.
Okay.
And I love that marketing's going down the path of, let's be really honest about things. And
Yes.
there's no, and sales. Nobody wants to do the sleazy old-fashioned sales anymore.
It's a
But they're
totally new
horrible.
world. Yep.
They're horrible.
Totally new world now. Like it's almost like, for me, it's almost like marketing is so important to build credibility and awareness about what you do and who you are. And then people will come to you ready to buy or ask buying questions.
Yes.
And the sales almost take care of themselves. Not totally, but they almost take care of themselves.
Yeah, and that's the perfect place to be, because people are smart now. Like, they've got information at their fingertips. So you can't pull the wool over their eyes like, what would happen 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Those are old school tactics. Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to see the back of those. Very much so.
And when do you get involved with, the inner dialogue and the confidence and the psychology of the person?
Oh, no, that's where we start. We start out there. Yeah, because you're doing something you're passionate about, and because you're doing something that you love, then there's a very strong emotional connection to that.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got your head in the right space and you're prepared, you've got to be prepared for the fact that no matter how much you love this product, no matter how much you love this service, no matter how much of yourself you pour into it, it's not going to be for everybody. And there are going to be people that go, no, thank you. And you can't take that personally. You've got to say to yourself, that's okay, because someone else will love what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got to find our own community, and you can't please everybody, because then you'll please nobody.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. So, if you can't resign yourself to the fact that you are not going to sell things to everybody, and have confidence in that, and be able to shake off the people that go, your thing sucks.
Yeah.
Well, okay, thanks for your opinion. This isn't for you. That's okay. So you need to have that resilience there.
And indeed, of course, I think it's more important than ever before. Like, we're learning that all the time.
Yeah.
Have you found that a lot of your clients have adapted reasonably well to working in this new way, with in coronavirus, with technology and Zoom and social media and internet, etc., etc.?
Yeah, there's been a mixed bag, but I have to say that the negatives the positives. Sorry, got that round the wrong way. The positives far outweigh the negatives. There have been a couple of people that it's really, really jolted them, and they've shut down and pulled the covers over their head, and they've been in hiding for 6 months.
Wow.
And that's okay, because that's their way of dealing with what's going on. But I get so excited by the people that just they say, right, I can't operate my business, I can't sell, I can't, and I'm dealing with quite a few people in the health and wellness industry that haven't been able to do anything for a long time. And so it's been really exciting for them to be going, well, this is what we've got. What else can we do? How else can I operate? And that kind of sort of spirit is really, I love working with those people. It's amazing.
And that kind of brings me to an interesting question. I mean, as a business coach, would you say that you tend to work more, along the lines of, or spend more time on helping people on their confidence and their inner dialogue and that side of things, rather than the actual systems and marketing strategies and tangible things? Or is it really a mix of the two?
It is a bit of a mix of the two, because we work on that stuff at the start, and then we get into the business element of things.
Yeah.
But then their business starts to take off, and then, you know, they'll have that dip in their confidence.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's like, oh, okay, this is actually happening now.
Yeah.
How do I feel about that?
Exactly. They're not prepared, not ready for it just yet.
Yeah. Because what happened, you know, what happens when you win Tats Lotto is that people come out of the woodwork and want something from you, and then, but they're not your real friends. They're just people that want something from you. So that's kind of an analogy, not a great one, but the same thing happens when you start to be successful, is that, you know, there can be people around you that aren't happy about it.
Yeah.
And that's a knock straight in your confidence.
Well, I think they call that tall poppy syndrome, is it?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. It should be
Tall poppy
banned.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it, absolutely. Crazy.
Yeah.
There's enough for everybody, and we should all be, you know, supportive of each other, and, you know, all enjoy working together and having a great life.
Yeah, there is.
No need to be so competitive.
No. And one of my favorite things to do is collaborate. Like, it's an interesting exercise when I get people to do a competitor analysis, because that's the first time, you know, we've done some inner work, and then I say, okay, competitor analysis. So off you go and have a look what's out there and what's happening. And then they sort of step back and they're like, oh, they're so good at it, I'll never catch up, and they're doing this and that's amazing. I'm like, no, because you're just starting here. You're only 6 months in, 12 months in, 1 month in, you haven't started yet, whatever they're at. But I'm like, well, how long have they been in business?
Yeah,
because they've probably got 10 years up their sleeve, or, you know, and not even that. It's like, don't look at it like that. Look at it as a learning experience. What can you learn from what they're doing?
Definitely. And you know, and by the same token, there's certain things that you're doing that they're not doing. You know, so remember that you have your own personality and strengths and style as well.
Yeah. You've got to pull back to everybody. You can be doing the same thing as 10 other people in your street, or, you know, wherever you are, but it's 10 things done different ways.
Definitely. And people, and, you know, as we say, people buy from people. If they like
they
you,
do.
They get to know you, they'll go on the journey with you, regardless of whether you're someone that's been around for 10, 15 years, 20 years, or 10 months. You know, if they like you, they'll go on the journey with you.
Yeah. And people even ask me sometimes about, you know, how I feel about the fact that I'm part of an organization where there are other coaches, and they're like, oh, so what happens, you know, like, how do you share clients and all this sort of stuff? And I'm like, but it's not about that, because the way I do things and my personality is totally different to the other coaches. We're all individual people. And I've had clients that have found me first and contacted me, and I've had conversations, and I said, do you know what? You'd actually be a perfect fit for this person here. And I'm okay with, because it's not about me, it's about what's best for the person.
100%. It'll all come back to you in the end.
Well, yeah. And not only that, but if they're not right to work with me, then it's just going to be hard work. And where's the fun in that?
So true. So true. Have you got any really good case studies for us? I'd love to hear a good story about someone in a certain situation, and after working with you, you've changed their life.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to say names, because I don't know how I don't know how they feel about that. But yeah, look, I was working with an organisation last year, and they'd been in business for quite some time, like well over 10 years, and great business. And on the outset, you know, the facade was that it was brilliant and functioning and everything was, you know, wonderful. And I step into this organisation, and, you know, the managing director is highly educated, wonderful woman, but this business had never, ever made a profit.
Wow.
Never.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And like, it just shocked me, because I wasn't quite sure what I was in for, but no, never ever made a profit. So that was a really exciting journey to go on with that organisation, to have a look at all the different areas of their business and work out what's going on with the owner. And, you know, obviously it was her passion because she'd been funding this thing for a long time, but turning that, you know, the day we popped that champagne bottle, that was very exciting. And that was, things don't happen overnight. That's another sort of misconception people have. It is work to turn it around. But the work was put in, and yeah, the first year profit was a 6-figure one. So
wow, outstanding.
Yeah, that was really, really exciting. And they're all people that are dear to my heart there. So
how cool. And I
but
think
yeah,
you raised a really good point as well, is a lot of people, especially these days, things are so competitive, so noisy.
yeah,
Everybody's there's 100 people doing the same thing.
mm,
It does take time to build your brand, build your business. You can't expect
yes,
results
it does.
overnight.
No, you can't. And the other thing that it kind of bothers me is that there are quite a large number of like business coaches and mentors and things like that that are selling the idea that this one, if you do one thing, it's a miracle cure.
Yeah, this silver bullet or this
Yeah.
formula or this process.
No.
Oh God, please.
No, because that's really crushing for people, because you know, in a group of people that sign up to do a course or whatever it is they're signing up for, there will always be a small percentage that it will work for.
Yep.
But the large percentage that are left out of pocket, and worse than that, their confidence is then so much lower than what it was going in.
Yep, so true.
And then they're disenchanted about working with anyone else because they're like, the success isn't for me.
Yep.
And that's really, really sad.
Yeah. That kind of brings up a really good point. So as a coach for people that are entrepreneurs and business people, you must have, obviously you mentioned certain steps in the process, certain things that you deal with, but then you still have to take into account the personality and the style of every single person and tailor all that accordingly. So it's not a one-stop shop for everybody.
No, it's a very, very organic process. So I do have that framework in place where I can step people through a framework, but it's more about, whereabouts in that framework do we need to spend the most time?
Yeah, exactly.
And how is all this, like we have a course and we have, training videos and all of that sort of wonderful stuff. But the key to making all of that work is when you sit down with someone and you say, okay, you've done this training. What have you learned? How have you taken it? What can we tweak? And it's getting that outside perspective and working with someone to apply those things in a way that works for their business. I think that's the difference, and that's where you get success.
So true. And I listened to I'm just quoting podcasts and authors here today, but I listened to a fantastic podcast called The Business of Photography by Sprout Studios. And what's one of the things he said the other day, he said, there's so much knowledge out there in the world. We can all get knowledge. It's everywhere. It's on the internet. We talk to people. It's in podcasts. It's on blogs. It's on YouTube, etc. But the secret sauce is the applied knowledge. Is how we apply it. I think I thought, whoa, that just was ding, click. It's so true.
Yeah. It's like, you can say, yeah, I know that, but then it's like, oh, do you really actually know that? Like,
and what do you do with it?
Yes, yeah. Because that is so true. You can take in all of the information that you can possibly absorb, but you've got to take action and you've got to use it.
True. And just like you mentioned, you could do a course, you could learn all these new skills. If you never actually go and try and adapt your business or integrate some of those into your business, what's the point of doing that whole course?
Yeah, that's right. And it's even as down to getting granular about you've just been taught 10 things, but really you only need to use 3 of them. Definitely. But if I'm just watching a course, sitting there in front of my computer or reading a book or whatever, and I'm presented with these 10 things, I don't necessarily have the experience and the knowledge to be able to pick which of those 3 things are right for me.
Yep. So true. Yep.
So yeah, with every lettuce, you got to take off the outside leaves and throw them away.
I like that. Fantastic. Well, Samantha, tell us a bit about how we can get in touch with you, if or females in particular, that want to
Yes.
work with you.
Yes. So, a bit of a social media fiend. I'm going to say that I'm not on TikTok, but it does tempt me just because
Oh,
I'm a little bit crazy and I do like to dance every day. My kids hate it because I even dance to the old supermarket music in the aisle.
love
But
it.
no, not on TikTok, but definitely I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Pinterest.
Pinterest as
And
well. I haven't used
yeah,
Pinterest much, but
I
Pinterest is
like
a good one. Yeah.
Pinterest.
Good
I
one.
really like it. So that's the creative side. I love creating all those pins and graphics and all that sort of stuff.
Lovely. Okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and of course my website.
Perfect. And what's your website for everybody out there?
My website is samanthamorris.fempirecoach.com.au.
Beautiful. Love it.
It's long.
Love it. Fempire. I love it. And obviously
Yes.
they came about by female empire.
Female empire. Yes.
Empire.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We'd like our husbands and our partners to retire early and rest, and we
Yeah.
want to storm the world.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sure all those husbands would love to retire early and relax.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what? I think as time goes on with every decade, I feel like men are just under more and more pressure. And particularly now, like, you think about younger people and trying to save up to buy a house, and it's hard.
It's
It's
hard.
really hard. And they can't do it on their own anymore.
No,
They
it's
just
hard.
can't.
It's hard, definitely. The world has changed so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of families, both parents work.
Yes,
It's just the way it is now.
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy stuff. But
My kids had a big shock in COVID because, when they were home, because they knew I worked, but it wasn't something they comprehended. So I was in my office every day and they're like, well, hang on, what's going on? Like, I don't understand. And I'm like, what did you think I did all day when you were at school?
Exactly.
What am I doing? I wasn't sitting out by the pool drinking pina coladas. I worked.
Absolutely. That sounds good.
Yeah, but I suppose because they see their dad gets up and puts on his work clothes and he's gone, and he comes home after they get home from school in dirty work clothes and he's had a hard day.
Exactly.
They're relating that to work, but they're not comprehending that. You can work at a computer all day as well.
Well, tell me about it. I'm here from 5:36 in the morning till God knows what time, and I'm always here.
Oh my goodness, you're an early bird.
I'm an early bird, yes.
Wow.
I never used to be an early bird, but 7, 8, 9 months ago, I started that pattern, and it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm so fresh. I'm so creative. I'm so efficient in the morning, and I get a lot of my great stuff done first thing.
Wow. See, I'm a night owl.
Right. Well.
So, as soon as everybody's tucked into bed, my brain goes like that. And I start having ideas and
I used to be like that. I've kind of just switched. It's funny.
Oh, I wish I could switch. Yeah. If you can figure out how you did it, let me know.
I just forced myself to get up at a certain time. And I said, all right, and I'm going to stick to this routine. And before I know it, my whole nocturnal rhythm changed. And it became, that's who I became. And I became a morning person. So I think it's something that you can just change. It's not something that we're born, we're either born morning people or evening people. I think it's a rhythm that you just set. And once you follow it, it becomes a pattern and your body just says, all right, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty remarkable at adjusting patterns and getting used to new routines. So I didn't ever think about changing it. Maybe I should.
Anyway, food for thought.
Yeah.
Well, Samantha, it's been absolutely fascinating to have you on the show. Really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And for all the audience out there, we're going to put all the notes and the links to find Samantha and work with her in the show notes. And Samantha, anything that you want to leave us with before we finish up?
Oh, look, don't let fear stop you from doing anything. If you want to give it a try, then start taking some sort of action to make things happen for yourself.
Right. Great advice. Just start, just start, and you might even enjoy it. You never know.
You never know.
Well, Samantha, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too, Darren.
And all the listeners and viewers out there, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you and all your support in the podcast. We'll see you back next week for another episode. Have a fantastic weekend, and bye for now.